Hello, my name is John Alston, and I'll be presenting on my final project, final AV presentation on physical education for the hearing impaired students. Now let us begin. Students with hearing impaired students with education. According to the National Institute on Deafness and Other Communication Disorders, 1 in 8 people in the United States, that's 13% or 30 million, aged 12 years or older, has a hearing loss in both ears, based on the standards for hearing examinations. A teacher within the American school system will at some point come across a student who is hard of hearing. Now, there is a difference between hard of hearing and being deaf, even though a lot of people combine the two together. Hard of hearing students have a vocabulary based in auditory, whereas students who are deaf have a vocabulary based in sight. This is because a lot of students who are hard of hearing either got that because of an injury or an illness or things like that, but growing up, they've always understood the languages through spoken words. Unlike people who are deaf, who sometimes might have gone deaf at a much younger age, who view it communication through sight, like hand gestures, facial expressions, things like that. So moving on. These are techniques to help a student with hearing impairment. Now, it's very important to talk with them privately in class first, because a lot of people are very particular about things, and it's important to ask questions. Questions that you should ask should be things like, do you prefer to have your hearing loss, things like that? Is it more private situation, or do you mind it being publicized? Because some people are very embarrassed about their hard of hearingness and things like that. A lot of people have somewhat of a stigma to them because people don't know that they're deaf, and they feel like they're being ignored, and people kind of have some kind of a stigma. But some people like to keep their privacy, and we as educators should award them that. We should also ask if it's easier for them to hear male or female students. This is important to help determine what teacher they're going to have. And also, is the hard of hearing if it's permanent or if it's temporary. Now, it can be permanent due to like injury sometimes, meaning like an ear infection or sometimes even the flu, but it can come back. It's important to use visual cues with people who have hearing impairment, and by that meaning signs. I have this video over here to the side with a phys ed teacher demonstrating his use of signs with a deaf student in this situation. Learning basic American Sign Language, or ASL. This is really good for students because they can actually feel that you are making an investment in them and their education and getting to know them better as a person. If you take the time to learn, come here, this and that. Demonstrate any activity that you are going to perform first. And so I'm going to go to the video. And so he has cues made in balance, hands, picture for balance right there. His eyes, man, focus on the eyes, keep your eyes up. There's a stop sign. Here's the go sign. So this phys ed teacher is clearly doing a program, a basketball sports program with a deaf student. So he has these signs such as stop, go, eyes up, fingertips on the ball, just different cues that they would use. And let's go and see how he utilizes it. So in this drill, the student will be doing zigzags and crossovers between the cones. Now the phys ed teacher is holding a sign that says go, and the student will go back and forth until the teacher holds up a stop sign. The teacher did demonstrate how to do the drill first, but I don't want to waste too much time in the video. I just want to show how it can be used in a physical education setting. So there's he going. I'm going to fast forward a little bit. Now he's got the stop sign. He's waiting for the student to come all the way to the end. and the student knows to stop. Now next we're going to go on to techniques for helping hearing impaired continued. Now one technique that you can use is using professionals, paraprofessionals, preferably somebody who has experience with that specific student, so that student's already comfortable with, or preferably someone who can sign or know or is familiar with just working this general hearing impaired population. Another technique is you can develop your own private set of signs and directions with that student this would be more so for someone who is hard of hearing, who doesn't sign, who doesn't communicate through visual. Now, I do want to stop and sit right here and say, as a phys ed teacher, we should be using types of signs with our students, whether they're hearing impaired or not. But this also is great to have in group settings. So like, you can have certain signs, like if you have your fingers apart and you cross them together, that can mean everyone's going to work together, things like that. But also, as a phys ed teacher, when you're working with someone who's not, with a group of people who are not even hearing impaired, it's important to have certain signs that mean stop, listen, come here, because a lot of times the physical gymnasium can be very loud. So that's what I would say. Technology is a very big thing for the hard of hearing, the deaf, the hearing impaired, rather. This hearing aids are one of the most important forms of technology, and one that I found in my research is something the Phonax Roger for Education. This is a very special piece of equipment. Basically, the teacher would wear a necklace, which basically has a little microphone in it, and there could be microphones set up around the whole classrooms. And if students want to say something, they would speak into the microphones. But for the hearing impaired student, the microphones around the gymnasium or in the classroom if you're teaching a health program, and the necklace that you're wearing goes directly to the student's ear. So the student can more so be incorporated in the classroom discussions. And next we have other techniques to help students with hearing impairment. Equipment. It's very important for us to use bright colors with these people, because they can't use this sense of hearing to listen to instructions and things such as that. But also when equipment's being used and balls being thrown around, it's very easy to see these equipments, which they need to use with the visual, when the equipment is bright colored, like pink, yellows, very easy for the human eye to see. This hand-over-hand technique, which is very important, very good for corrective feedback. And of course, when you do this, you have to ask for permission before doing hand-over-hand technique. And positioning, where the student sits and where the teacher is. So it's important as teachers for us to stand in the same position, the same area every time we're about to teach a lesson. And for the student, if it's okay with them, if they are not shy about their hard of hearing, their hearing impairment, for the students to sit in the front row. And I'm going to go to the video and show basically this woman over here doing a very good job doing hand-over-hand technique and asking for permission. So the student is holding the ball incorrectly. Here comes the coach. So she walks over, asks for permission, and gestures, and puts her hand on top of his and puts it properly so that the student can effectively kick the ball. There we are. And in conclusion, I would like to bring up certain laws that have been in place for students with hearing impairment or just any ailments. I got these excerpts from the book, from the text. School systems have a responsibility to provide comparable facilities and equipment to all students, which must be included in the design standards. And federal law mandating that all children with disabilities receive physical education that are educated in the least restrictive environment to meet their unique needs. So as educators, we must make the effort to make sure that all of our students benefits, no matter what their ailments is. And I hope this presentation was very eye-opening and was able to help everybody in their classroom experiences. Thank you for your time and have a great day. Bye.